Nathan's been working with me a good year or so, Nathan?
Oh, no, like 4.5 months.
Okay, yeah, we really just started when we met in Dallas thereabouts, right?
That's right. Yeah, I'd been doing it for like a couple of weeks at that point. Like I was brand spanking.
Okay, yeah. I thought it wasn't a long time ago, but it wasn't like recently, so somewhere in between, so about 4.5 months. Nathan's really been putting up some major numbers on the board recently, and whenever I see a producer start producing big time, I always like to say, hey, come over here, let's talk to newer producers getting into the business, to give some perspective on what it takes to be successful. Nathan was kind enough to be willing to speak with us, and that's why I have him on. So Nathan, thank you very much. Tell us a little bit about your background and how you got into Final Expense.
So what happened for me is I was a server at a restaurant at the time, and I'd been out of college for a little while, and I was just like trying to find out what I wanted to do for my job. I'm a Christian. I was praying about it, and so I ended up meeting some really cool people at the restaurant I was working at, and they liked the way I did my dessert presentation there and some other things. And they were like, hey, you should get into life insurance. And I was like, no kidding. And I looked into the agency they did. It was we won't name names, but it was one of those MLM Kool-Aid agencies there. And I was like, I don't think I'm gonna go that direction. I started looking around on the internet for other ones. I found your website there. I just really liked the way that you presented the whole process of it and everything. Talking about how you got to get fear and doubt out of your mind. You got the Fear is the Mind Killer shirt on right there. I really appreciated that. Very honest and upfront in your whole presentation on the website. You know, it wasn't like this whole like, oh, everyone that does it's going to be a millionaire instantly. Like, you got to put in the work.
Right.
You got to actually go out there and put in some effort. And I really appreciated that, just whole candor. And that's what got me to sign up with you. So then I started doing that, went through the whole training, got the license, all that good stuff. And I've been doing it full time for about 4 months now. But I have had a couple of hiccups because I actually, and like you said, you got to make sure you don't get overwhelmed as an agent, because overwhelmed agents don't sell. I remember you told me that right when I got into it. And I got started with Agent Autopilot, which is a great program. Don't get me wrong. Great program. But I kind of had some hiccups with getting it set up. And so I was like, oh my gosh, it's like there was like a little bit of time there where I wasn't really selling too much because I was trying to get this whole process figured out. So I would definitely recommend, I'm very grateful that I did not immediately start with Agent Autopilot, like as a brand spanking new agent, because I think that would have probably thrown me off the rails a little bit there if that was like the first experience I had with it. But now that I am using it, it's very, very helpful. I like it a lot.
Let's pause there for a second. So again, a lot of people on this call are new-ish.
Yes.
Maybe not even have their license yet.
Yeah.
What is Agent Autopilot? What is good about it? And it sounded like it may have slowed you down a little bit. Can you kind of slow down and explain a little bit of that just so the audience has some context? Thank you.
Absolutely. Okay. So what Agent Autopilot essentially is it's an automated CRM service. It's something that can go and reach out to your leads for you. It'll send out texts to them, emails, phone calls, things like that. It'll also set up appointments for you automatically with an AI setting, things like that. But it does take a little bit of a technical expertise to get it figured out. You want to make sure your leads are put in there correctly. What screwed me up on it is I set up the calendar wrong. And so it was scheduling appointments for me at like times that weren't even in my availability. It was double scheduling appointments. So then I just had to like turn it off. And it took me a little while to like get the support calls like all scheduled to get it all figured out. But once I got it working, it was really good. But I would definitely recommend doing what you first told me. And I'm very grateful I reached out to you over email right when I was getting into it. And I was like, should I like start off with this? And you're like, hey, learn the selling process first, learn the basics, and then you can add on things as you go along. So I would definitely recommend second what David told me there, and just recommend that to you guys as well. Just learn your presentation, learn getting the whole like product figured out, like, you know, the differences between the different companies, which ones have what underwriting for what conditions, things like that, before you jump into adding other programs. But once you are comfortable with the process, I do think having some helpers out there is really nifty. I really like Final Expense Toolkit. That I've been using the whole time. I think that is fantastic.
Explain how that works.
So Final Expense Toolkit is awesome. It's about $35 a month if you use the DoForward5 discount code there instead of $40 a month. What it does is you can put in all of your carriers in there. You type in all of the health conditions that you have for the person, all of the medications they're taking, things like that, what their age is, weight, all that stuff. And then it will show you every single company, what their rate is, what their rate class is, all of that stuff. And it just shows you all of them there at once. You don't have to go through and read through like all of the different underwriting potential potential issues and things like that. It just really simplifies the whole process. I think that is an absolute staple for a final expense agent. I mean, I've been using that the whole, FE Toolkit's the same as FEX Toolkit, April.
Exactly. Yeah. It's best in class. It underwrites all your prospects. You just have to input the variables, meaning the health history and prescription data, and out pops the possible carriers that you can use. It's great. And there's really not a comparable to it. I've got a cheat sheet that really is good for our agents, but really the insurance toolkit, that's so inexpensive. It's no long-term contract. Yeah, it quotes and underwrites, April. Yeah, it's fantastic. It's great for final expense. I think they're getting into med sups and term to some extent. So there's some multi-product approach to it. Check it out, insurancetoolkit.com. It's fantastic. Like, it comes highly recommended. So let's go back to the beginning. We're back into Dallas. You're getting Agent Autopilot started. You said you had some hiccups along the way. Was there anything other than the Agent Autopilot that kind of slowed down your process and getting started?
That I wasn't using Agent Autopilot yet at that time. I got that a little bit later. That was in December. So it really just at the beginning, what was slowing me down, I guess, was just kind of getting everything figured out, getting confident with like which lead services are the best. I've used them all. I really think if you are dedicated enough to going out and door knocking your leads and calling your leads, if you're using at least just a fairly reputable lead service, you're going to do well. I've had success with Need a Lead, direct mail leads. I've had success with TTC aged leads. I've had success with Happy Agent leads. The Agent Autopilot gives you some leads for free. They've had me going all over the state with theirs. I mean, I went. I've been having some road trips, but it's been fun, and I've really had some good sales from all of them. So really, as long as it's somebody that David here's recommended in some way, I think you're going to do well. Because I mean, I've heard about all those. I think Happy Agent leads, I didn't hear from you directly, but I saw that one posted about in the forum, and that one works pretty well. It's nice for like quick leads because they just send them into you the minute that they get filled out on the Facebook forum, which is nice. So that's a kind of a nifty feature there. But yeah, and I got a pretty good sale through them too. I mean, it ended up like opening me up to like some like 3-4 digit sale AP numbers in like one day. It was a bit of a road trip, but it was worth it. So nice.
So I talk a lot about face-to-face sales. Either a digital Facebook lead or direct mail is best. Do you have a preference as to what you prefer? Does it really not matter to you?
I know you're more direct mail leads, like that's your main thing there. I really don't know if I have a specific preference yet at this point. I'm still just kind of doing just trial and error. I've had success with all of them, so I really can't say if I have like a solid favorite yet. I'm probably just going to keep on playing around for a little bit, and then if I end up finding one that just really just knocks it out of the park, then I might just stick with that directly. But I think that there's a lot of different avenues to success. So I mean, if you're looking for a more budget thing, you can still make money on aged leads, things like that. But it is a bit more work. It's a lot more door knocking, stuff like that. So but you can find success through a lot of different avenues.
So we're now in 2023. The hot topic for most of us here is, how can I stay at home in my underwear, never leave, and sell over the phone? And you're out there door knocking people. So there's probably on some level, the audience is like, that actually works. Can you kind of explain that experience of door knocking and what the results are actually like?
Oh my gosh. Door knocking it is so important. It is integral to the sales process, because I've read about people saying, oh, I bought all these leads and I called them and nobody was answering, and I feel like I wasted all my money on the leads. No, you did not waste money on the leads. You're just not fully utilizing them. If people call them and they don't answer, or you text them and they don't respond, you got to pull up to their house. You got to just show up there, because a lot of the time people think it's a spam text. A lot of time people think it's just like another telemarketer or whatever. But whenever you show up and you're like, hey, I'm the real deal. Here's my insurance license. Like, I am here for the form you filled out online. People will just let you in their house. I mean, I was out in a place, I mean, I drove out I didn't even know, I didn't have a guaranteed sale out there. I drove all the way out like an hour from my house because I had some leads out there, and I door knocked and people let me in. I made the sale. So I mean,
so people aren't pissed when you show up at their house unannounced?
Almost never. I've had a couple of times I've gotten cussed at and I've had people yell at me, but don't let that discourage you. And that's, hey, fear is the mind killer. Because I mean, there is going to be that occasional time whenever someone gets mad at you and yells and stuff like that. But 99% of the time, you go up to them, and I mean, I'll just tell them, I'll be like, hey, I reached out to you over the phone. I tried contacting you in some way. You didn't answer. I just wanted to just have you show up. Sometimes people have new numbers a lot of the time too. So I mean, I'll just tell them that, like, and that I wasn't sure if you actually were getting my messages or not, since I didn't get a response. So here I am in person to deliver you the information you requested. And almost every time people will be like, okay, yeah, like come on in, or or whatever, I got to reschedule or whatever. But like people are not just going to like blow up at you or whatever. Like that is an incredibly rare circumstance. It's maybe happened to me 2 or 3 times out of like 400 times or something. I mean, like it's super rare. Yeah.
So are you cold calling, or are you actually are you cold door knocking leads, or are you door knocking? Cold door knocking. I'm getting all messed up. You know what I mean? Are you cold door knocking, or are you working leads?
I'm door knocking leads. They're all leads. Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, no, I'm not just going house to house randomly. That would probably get more of someone cussing at you in your face, probably. But yeah. I mean, I'm sure that's possible too. I'm sure people do that successfully too. But I don't know anything about it. So, like,
why do you think showing up with at the people's homes that requested this information, the leads, why do you think it's as not a big deal as some may think it is?
Because they did request the information, they did ask for it. They're literally filling out a form that says at the bottom, an insurance agent is going to reach out to you for this information. And if you and they have calls, they have text or whatever, or they got a new number, or they've got something else going on where they otherwise forgot to text you, and then you show up, it's not going to be a big deal. Like people are going to understand that that's why you came out. And then it's like that a very occasional 1 in 100 chance that someone yells at you is not worth you throwing away all this money on leads. I mean, it is absolutely worth it to go out there. And I mean, just met some just really cool people. I actually had a guy, one of my insurance prospects, sold me a massage chair for that was like worth $1,100 for $100. He just offered it to me. It was super cool. Yeah, awesome. I mean, you'll just meet really cool people out there too, and you'll get your number, you'll get your AP up and everything. It's a win-win all the way around. So it's fun. But
yeah, so when it comes to face-to-face sales, door knocking is non-negotiable. You have to door knock, because why? People don't pick up the phone anymore. Rarely. Mm-hmm. They're getting spam likelies, telemarketing constantly. So in order to get the most out of your money when you're selling face-to-face, go see them. And it's surprisingly very effective. I don't know why there's just this belief that you're a pest when you show up at somebody's house. And that's not nearly ever the reality, especially when you bring that card in or that digital Facebook lead and you show them what they did. And you're just there taking the kind of the character of, I'm just doing my job, delivering the information requested. So many people back when I would sell full time, they just would wait for me to shut up in my door knock pitch to just let me in. Half the time it was just like, oh, come on in. I'm like, but I'm some random dude showing up at your house. I'm 6 foot, like 240 pounds. You let me in? They did all the time. So it's funny, but it works well, guys. And I'll tell you that one last thing before we move on. The one thing that's very common now, of course, is that, there's a lot more telesales people, and there's a lot more agencies training just to strictly set appointments and not door knock. There's been cumulatively exponentially more calling done over the past couple of years than there has been teaching door knocking. And my point in saying all this is that you have this superior advantage. It may seem ineffective or inefficient, but when you show up to somebody's house in 2023, look them in the eyes, smile, shake their hand, tell them why you're there, it makes a tremendous impact that frankly, a phone call never will, or has very little chance of making. So it is a way that you got to drive around, and there's that part of it for sure. But there's so much opportunity in it that so few agents are really leveraging that. I think it's the best opportunity nowadays. So just go back to the old-fashioned way of doing things, see people, and get good at making contacts and getting in the door, and you'd be surprised at what you can do.
Absolutely.
Very good. Okay, so let's take a couple of some questions. You guys have some questions in the chat. We'll throw these out to Nathan and see what he thinks. Let's see here. Good to know door-to-door is working in insurance too. Yep, sure is. Is insurance toolkit good for telesales? 100%. Hey, Gavin, sure is. Yeah, it works great. A lot of my telesales agents use it. Do you ever appointments that are just door knock? Can you explain that?
I do both. And with the agent autopilot, that has helped a lot with setting appointments too. I mean, I would just wake up in the morning and it'd be like, bam, here's an appointment. I'm going to this place today, which is it's pretty nice because I mean, it goes out and just texts everybody all at once. But of course, if you don't get a response from the text, from the calls, things like that, then that's when you got to go to the point of pulling up. And then also, delivery notices are a great way to ensure that you're not wasting your time whenever you go out there. I don't know if I have some right here on me. I could go grab them really quick. I can show you what they look like. Just
actually, you keep talking. I'll pull them up here on.
Okay, perfect. Okay, yeah, those are a great way to make sure that you're not wasting your time whenever you go out to somebody's house and they're not there. I get these pink delivery notices. They're very noticeable. You just write their name on there, write a final notice on the delivery attempt. That's a bit of David advice there. Make sure to get that sense of urgency whenever you're getting the notice put up to their door. But one other thing I would recommend with the delivery notices, though, some people's doors don't have a very good sticky place to put them on there. So I would recommend buying some packing tape as well. Like nothing that's gonna rip off their paint, because that'll piss them off. But getting some packing tape for apartment doors, things like that. If they don't have a glass door, I'll usually get some packing tape and put it on there just to make sure the notice is there and doesn't just blow away the minute that I've walked away. Because I've had that happen a couple of times, and that's I need to make a change here, because then it really was redundant at that point if I didn't ensure that the notice was left there. And you'll get people calling you back the next day going what is this about? And I've had that even happen in the same day. I went and left the notice, the lady was gone doing something, and then she gives me a call back, and I was like, oh, hey, I was just here to deliver you that information about these final expense programs. And I went back over there the next day, and that same day, and made the sale. So that makes sure that you're really getting the most out of your door knocking as well.
So a couple of, go ahead, finish up. Yeah.
Oh, no, that was it. Go ahead.
So a couple of things here. This is the delivery notice, guys. You can find these on Amazon. If you go to Amazon and put in delivery notice slips, you'll find these. You can buy these. These are the exact ones that I would use out in the field. They're 4 inches by 6 inches. You want them nice and big so that they're seen. There's some smaller ones that are 2 by 3 inches. They're good, but they're not as good as this. This just gets your attention. Just so you know, this is how we teach to do this. This is what happened. We knock on a door and nobody answers. This is to a lead. We then stick this up. We put our name, the date we showed up, and the approximate time. It's always the final attempt. All right. It's the final attempt. That creates urgency, right? If it's the first attempt, well, it looks like there's a second and a final attempt. They'll just catch them when they get here, right? The final attempt is you're never coming back. So it creates a little more urgency to call us, because we're going to put our name and our phone number here to call. And then when they call us, pro tip, don't answer the phone. They'll want to start qualifying you. When you see that number that shows up and it matches one of your leads, stop what you're doing and turn the car back around and go see them and just knock on the door and act as if you're just there about the information. Don't mention the delivery notice. It's not a big deal if you do or don't, but I just do my pitch and get in. And then, oh, by the way, when I'm done closing them, I was the one that put that delivery notice up, in case you're wondering. I do recommend that you put an alternative phone number other than your personal number here, because these people will call you at all hours of the day. It's 3 a.m. Where's my delivery package? Where is it? I've been waiting all morning, all night. They'll eventually blow your phone up. So if you don't want that, just put another Google Voice number or something, is what I used to do. So, but that makes a huge difference in getting, again, squeezing the response out of these leads. That's the difficulty, is getting in front of these people. So highly recommended. So April asks, Nathan, what was your best week of AP?
I think my best week technically is 7,800, but it's one of those as a life insurance policy, and there's a paramedical exam that goes along with that. So there's a lot of things that are still in underwriting, so I haven't realized that yet, but it's in the works. And then probably my best one other than that was high 6,000, 7,000, something like that, around there. Yeah, something like that. And that was actually, a lot of that came from that one week whenever I drove out on the road trip to
funny, yeah.
Go see people. Fun. Yeah, exactly. And then my budget.
Yeah.
Right now I've been kind of just milking these leads I got from the AAP, which is nice. I actually got a really good deal on that because it's Black Friday deal. So I only had to pay $1,200 instead of the $2,500 deal. And then I got all that. I think I paid, well, it was $1,200 total, because it was it would have been $1,500. Then I got a half off on the Facebook ad lead. So instead of putting in $2,500, I put in $1,250, and I got 200 leads with that. Then I got all my other leads set up, and that's just been making it where I've been seeing more out of the leads I already had purchased. I was seeing stuff come back from before, which has been really nice. But usually, I mean, I guess I don't really have like a consistent lead budget yet because I've been trying different lead services. So that's kind of hard for me to say. But I mean, overall in 2022, I spent about $10,000, not on just leads, but like everything, including my like license, leads, like programs, everything like that. I spent about $10,000 around there. So like that, and that was in like about a 3-4 month period. So, but that's including licensing and everything else. So I could tell you what I got. I actually have I have it pulled up here. Let me tell you how much I spent on leads.
Sure.
Total. Okay. So I got one. There we go.
While you're looking at that, let me answer a couple questions here in the chat. Hi, do you have a Zoom for telesales agents? Yeah, actually, Constance, how you doing? We had Chris on last week who's talked extensively about the reality of telesales. So if you want to go check the recording of that, if you go look in the Insurance Sales Success Forum and then scroll down, you'll see the recording. It's really good interview. I think it actually is going live today on YouTube, not live, but the recording. So today or tomorrow, so you'll see it there. And then Nathan, you ready?
Yeah, it was about $6,000 in 2022 on leads. So in about, yeah, right there. Mm-hmm.
And now with what you've got going on, what's been kind of the average number of people you've been seeing every single week?
I usually I don't even have like a lot of appointments. I just get once I can get in the door, I can get the sale made. I probably do like 10, 15 like actual appointments or something like, or 10 to 15 like meetings, sit down. Because once I can get in the door, I can pretty much get the sale most of the time because, and this is another thing too, that's just a big part of being in insurance. Like honesty goes such a long way because there are a lot of people out there in the insurance game that are selling sketchy products. They're selling term to people for final expense, like they do not need term, stuff like that. I mean, I've seen people with like outrageous policies. Like this one lady was on one and it was like $100,000 policy. And like it started out being $30 a month. Then they had like a rider on there that was like doubling the rate behind it that was slowly increasing. Then whenever she turned like 60, it was going to go up to like 180. Then it was going to be like 350. Then it was going to be like $700. If she looked to 90 years of age, it was going to be like $4,000 a month. She'd be paying like $50,000 a year at that point. I mean, it was crazy stuff. So, I mean, you'll just see some like bonkers policies out there. So if you just go in there, like selling a good product and you're actually putting like the people's interests at mind first and like really just caring about the person and stuff like that, like that's going to go a long way too, like a really, really long way. And so like, that makes it where I'm actually going and like, I'm providing something that helps them out. And then like and people are grateful for that. People appreciate it, you know? And I mean, I really just think that honesty, just going the whole way through, very transparent with like, I'll show them all of the options I have right here, but like, here's the FEX, like, here's the toolkit right here. Here's the options. Like, here's like which one do you think is going to work best for you? Things like that. And I think that really goes a long way. And even just with like little things too, because I mean, like really just being like honest about like everything. Cause if you go in there and you're telling them that you're like a Cowboys fan and then like you're actually an Eagles fan and that comes out, like if you're going to lie to them about that, then what else are you lying to them about? Right. So I mean, really, I think that just being just totally transparent. And I mean, that's just like a good advice for life, you know?
It is.
But just like being totally honest all the time is, Lincoln Heritage. I see that one right there.
Hold on. Well, before we get to that, I'm definitely gonna let you answer that one. Okay. This one's good. And I don't know if Mike, you're new to the final expense business, but I'll let kind of Nathan describe this. How many sales presentations do you have to make to get the sale done?
What do you usually one? Almost
just
all.
One. Yeah. One. This isn't a multi-step sale.
Yeah.
You're walking in literally unannounced. But when we say door knock, lead in hand, they didn't expect us. They let you in, you sit down, right? Tell me if I'm wrong. You present to them, show them, do your thing, and you close them right then and there. And they're
almost every time. Yes.
Almost always.
There was occasionally somebody, like there was one guy that was like, he's like, I just don't like doing things the day that things are first presented to me. So he's like, that's just how I am. Like I had some guys come in and sell me some solar panels and I made the decision that day and it was bad. So he's like, just come back to me next week. And I came back the next week and I closed it. But that is rare. That's an outlier. That's an outcross situation. But I mean, almost always it's going to be the first time. So yeah.
That's what's nice about final expense is that, and that's why we start agents with final expense. We talk a lot about Medicare, ACA, annuities, great products. There's issues though with a lot of agents starting those. They don't pay enough first year commission because they're basically residual based, or they're a multi-step sales opportunity that takes a little bit more time to close. But final expense is great because It's a simple product. There's millions of prospects. I mean, Nathan's working Oklahoma, middle of nowhere in a lot of cases, and he still finds plenty of people to sell to. And it's a one-call close. You know, it's meaning you're not going back and back and back and back before you get the sale. It's either you're going to do it today or never in most cases.
And then, okay.
So yeah, how do we compare? How do we line up against Lincoln Heritage? Yeah, give us
Lincoln Heritage. Okay, if you see Lincoln Heritage in there, you're going to make the sale almost every time. I mean, their rates are so high. Like, they are so high. I mean, like, I literally had a lady, she was paying like $50 a month for $3,000 of coverage. I was able to get her $10,000 for an extra $10 a month. I mean, their rates are very, very high. They do graded on a lot of people that don't need graded. They do. I mean, their rates are just not competitive at all. I don't know exactly how they do their sales. I mean, I've never worked for Lincoln Heritage. I did have a friend who did, and he told me the experience is pretty bad because I was telling him I sell life insurance, and he was like, "Oh no!" And I was like, "Who did you sell for though?" And so he told me Lincoln Heritage, and I was like, "Well, that's why." I was like, "That's why you had a rough time with it," you know. But it's if you guys are here with Dig, you're in a good spot. So that's But Lincoln Heritage is. I don't know exactly how the inner workings of their company works. I just know that their rates and plans are very easy to beat. So I mean, that's basically what I know about them. And then overall conversion rate. So I guess by contact, if you mean like, so if I go into somebody's house, I probably close it 3/4 of the time. And if somebody's apprehensive about the sale, what I've been saying recently that works out really well is I just make sure that I'll give them an out, in the sense that I will say, hey, right, if you're unsure about the sale right now, we can close the sale. We can get it all set up. There is a 30-day free look period. So if you do change your mind, you can just call me and I'll cancel it. But if you think about it, this is the best time to get in on the sale. So let's just close it right now. We can get it all set up. And then if you do change your mind, you can call me. But I mean, most of the time people aren't going to do that because they sit there and they think about it like, hey, like I'm literally getting the best rate I can ever pay right now. I already got the application closed. I've already got everything done. You know, I mean, people are like thinking, oh, like I need you to come back. I'm just like, hey, like we're sitting here right now. I'm right here in the room with you. You're in the room with me. We don't have to schedule another appointment. We don't have to do all this stuff. So we might as well just get it done. And people will just go for that almost every time. So that really makes it where the conversion rate gets a lot higher.
So a couple of things here. I'll give you my thoughts on this. A good goal to have as a newer agent is closing half of your presentations. Any more than that, you're crushing it, right? Any less than 40% of your presentations, and when we say converting, we mean closing, meaning selling a policy. So if I have 10 presentations and I sell 4 policies, that's good. That's scalable. That's likely very profitable over the short and long term. But 5+ is the goal. When we talk final expense, probably the same for Medicare too as well. And we need to have a conversion rate that high because we have to justify our action in the business to be able to pay off our expenses, right? Because, you know, like Nathan was talking about his lead debt, we all have leads that we have to pay for up front. So we need to have a conversion level high enough to cover that expense.
Right.
This is Constance. I'll take this one. I want to do final expense, but lack training. So you guys know, I mean, what we've gone all in on this past month, really the big shift the Ford Insurance Group has made is that we are heavy in training. Every agent that we accept into our agency is assigned a trainer, usually somebody who has street cred, always has street cred, usually a couple of years in the business, some sales management experience at a minimum. And they come and train each of our agents on a one-on-one basis. There's an extensive week-long training where you meet daily with your trainer. There's daily training to help develop your script, your product wherewithal and understanding. And the goal is to get you sales ready in 10 days or less. And it's been very effective in the short period of time that we've done it. We are getting more results faster for our agents than just me doing it. So it's been great to bring on some team members to help expand this process. So I'm super pumped about it. If any of you all are interested in that, best place to start is go to daviddeford.com. Check out how things work. Click the FAQ button at the top. Read through the FAQ section on final expense. And then you'll see where you can click the apply button. You can actually apply for a position. Again, it's not for everybody. We do interview. We do take applications. It's not a free for all. If you got a pulse, come on in. That's the MLM's way of doing things. We're selective in who we choose to make sure it's a good match mutually. Cool. So last question for you, Nathan, then we'll wrap it up. What tips would you give new agents getting started to help them expand or hasten their overcoming of the learning curve so that they get results faster?
I would say just go out there, throw yourself out there is a big part of it. I think a lot of people kind of get like first sale jitters or like first contact jitters, things like that. Just go out there, start knocking on doors, start going up and talking to people, just kind of get that fear out of here, and just start going for it, because the longer that you just sit there with, with your hands on your butt, like the longer you're wasting time. And the only way you're going to learn is by going out there and just figuring it out firsthand. Because you can look, training is great. Training is fantastic. Training is awesome. But at the end of the day, there's going to be nothing like actually sitting down with a prospect there face to face in their house. And the more that you do that, the more that you'll get comfortable with it. And, you're not going to be perfect right off the bat. So but no one's perfect at anything right off the bat. That's what life is you just learn about things, you get better over time. So don't be worried about, if you're going to if you're not going to be able to do it exactly 100% perfect the first time, but you're going to get better and better over time. And then that experience is going to build up, and you're going to start seeing that more and more in your business and with the people that you're interacting with and everything, just as you get more comfortable with it over time.
How did you know it was enough time going through training to know that you were ready to just get out there? I think that's an issue a lot of agents struggle with, is they're aware painfully that they don't know everything, and they feel like they have to continue the practice, but there's kind of a diminishing returns too. So when did you know? How long did it take you to know, okay, I know as much as I can, I'm going to get out there and make things happen?
I went ahead and I bought the leads when I was going through training. I was kind of waiting for those to come in. What I did is I went through your final expense presentation there. And so I just kind of, without looking at it, I would just make sure I knew all of the points. I knew what to bring up, things like that. And if you've never looked at that, I would definitely recommend checking that out. Make sure you're printing out that Business Insider article about the rising cost of funerals, about the price of average cost of funerals and cremations, things like that. The AARP article, that's a great one. The Colonial Penn article, Globe Life, all of that stuff, because you show them. People will get shocked, about how crazy some of this stuff is. Whenever you're showing them the AARP thing, you show them the little part of the article at the bottom here. I could go grab the paper if you think I can go grab it really quick. But it just shows at the bottom.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. So what Nathan's talking about is part of our sales process. We actually teach you to share information about your competition. The nice thing about selling final expense face-to-face or over the phone is our competition stinks. They really do. The big name competitors out there, Colonial Penn and AARP, probably have seen the commercials or junk mail if you're unfamiliar with the business. Colonial Penn does not cover anybody with their guaranteed acceptance policy, even if you're in tip-top shape, until 2 years have passed. AARP's term insurance plan cancels at 80. This is after the rates go up every 5 years. And so we literally, as Nathan will share here, just show them the brochures that says in the fine print right there on the screen.
And what's really diabolical is they actually did consumer research studies to find out which part of the page people look at the least. And that's where they put it in there. So, it is so gross, what they're doing. And so whenever you just go and tell people about that, and you're this is what's going on, that also helps build a rapport and trust with the people too, because you're showing them there are other options out there. This is what they're offering, and this is what we have. It really does paint people a clearer picture, because especially if you're rewriting policies too, because people will come in and they won't know crap about their policy that they're on. Someone just came in, threw all the stuff at them and got them signed on to a policy, but you're actually giving them a learning experience too. You're actually teaching them something about it. So you're providing more value for your time there and their time as well. And I think that really does increases the trust level there, because you are showing that transparency with the client. And a lot of agents and other agencies don't do that. So I really think that's what sets us apart.
So Angela says, how about a competitor sheet for info? So if you go to our training sites, that information is listed under either the face-to-face or telesell section. You'll see scripts and resources. You should see that information there. There's the part of the issue though, and I think I know where you're going with the angle too, is how do we know what to present or what situations we're going to be in as we get into the home? And there's some big names that you'll run into. You'll see some high-priced captive companies like Lincoln Heritage, kind of know how to approach that, just get a better price and sell yourself as a value. But then AARP, Colonial Penn, then it starts getting into all the weeds. I think of all the information and knowledge I've gained over the years, I didn't have a cheat sheet for it. You just kind of accumulated as you go, right? You start seeing, like Nathan, you probably run into all sorts of policies, and you start to learn how to read the policy, what to look for, how to explain it. So even if you've never seen the company before, you can say, hey, this company does this, here it says that. And y'all will pick that up if you, as you get out there and see the people. But there becomes a point where, you know, the insurance business is very disseminated. It's decentralized. There's not one major player that's 80% of the business, right? It's not like Amazon for retail. You know, there's just a ton. And at some point, it's just a matter of just going out and seeing them at a certain point and just learning as you go.
Yeah. And with the options that we have here for, like, it's our general carries and things like that, I started out with 5 or 6. And as you get more comfortable, you can add more on. I think I'm up to like 15 now. And using FEX Toolkit makes that a lot easier because I don't have to go and like look through every single company. I can just type in all the information. And it is nice having more of those options later on. But start out with a few, get comfortable with them, and move on. But more as you get more comfortable. But like once you learn to read more of the policies, you'll see. And I'm not even aware. I don't think we have any companies that do this. But like there's a lot of what insurance companies will do, like that we don't work with. Well, they'll have like a diminishing return on the face value. Right. So I've seen that before, where you'll see like it'll start out as 20,000 and it'll go down to 10,000. So if a client, potential prospect, tells you they're paying a price for a face amount, like try to see the policy as much as you can, because a lot of the time people are getting deceived. And so you can show them like what's actually going on. Because I mean, a lot of people think, oh, and there's some you'll just know are immediate red flags. You know, someone will be like, oh, I'm getting $100,000 for 50 a month. And it's like, no, you're not.
Right. Yeah. So I'll say this as a side note for those of you who sell remotely, for those of you who sell over the phone, this is a lot more difficult. This is one of the heads up that you get as a face-to-face agent, is you get to lay hands on actual documentation about the client's policies. You will replace sometimes over the phone inferior policies with better policies. Usually it's the obvious stuff like very expensive or term insurance like AARP. But one of the advantages you get face-to-face is you get to see these like plans that are exploding. You can look at the layout of the expected premiums year over year, which will help you kind of bolster a logical explanation why they need to switch. It's one of the advantages you get, I think, face-to-face, and part of the reason why the conversion's higher. Ian asks, I'd like your insight on this. What's the best way to learn carriers as a new agent?
Best way to learn carriers? I mean, I think a lot of the time, just writing business with them helps out a lot. You'll kind of see the underwriting process. FEX Toolkit, once again, I can't emphasize enough how helpful that is. The carrier cheat sheet, I've used that a number of times as well to double check on things. It's very, very nifty there as well. You'll kind of learn some stuff over time. Like there was this one lady, like I was going to go with Trinity for her. And then it turned out she used medical marijuana. And I was like, okay, we got to like shift over to this other company. And so stuff like that, because she like that Trinity's not a fan of the weed.
No CBC gummies.
No, none of that. But we ended up going with Great Western for her, and it worked out fine. It was still like level coverage and things like that. So you'll just kind of like learn some stuff over time. You'll know like there's certain issues you just want to like just go with. You know, congestive heart failure a lot of the time. If it's current, you're going to go Guarantee Trust Life. If it's aged back, you can do Great Western for them as well. If it's like not been in the recent medical history, I've had that work out. Things like that. I actually was kind of surprised on that one, but I thought that was cool.
Yeah.
Cardiomyopathy, you're going to see GTL, stuff like that. And then like there's some stuff you'll just kind of know, like it has to be like AIG, like guaranteed issue and stuff like that. But or there's ones that just will generally, like I know like male smokers, Life Shield is really good for them, like healthy male smokers, like because they have a really good competitive rate to that. I was seeing like it was a guy that was on like a $15,000 policy, like older dude, and like it was like a $30 difference in price between like the other carriers. So like you'll just kind of start kind of picking things up over time, but really experience is a big part of it. And then having the FEX toolkit really simplifies the process.
I'll add this in. If you're new to final expense, the best way to learn your carriers is not take too many carriers. Now, Nathan's been doing this for a while, and he's earned the right to carry 10 plus carriers because he gets results and he's out there making things happen. For new agents in our firm, at least, we just put them with 3 because it's complicated. You're learning how to not just, which product to work, how to complete an application, which underwriting works best for a client, but you're also learning how to sell this stuff, and the more that you're responsible for to be sales ready, the more likely you're not going to get out there and do anything. So what we do is we start agents with 3 companies, And then once you start getting traction, then it's like, hey, pick up what you want based off of the circumstances. Like Nathan's multiple times requested more carriers. I've never been an impediment to that because he's getting out there and making things happen. So that's the key thing is don't overwhelm yourself or feel responsible. I got to know everything. No, you don't. You got to know how to sell first. And you need 3 carriers. That's all you really need to just get out there and start making an impact and helping people. Let's see what else here. Cost to get appointed with FE carriers, marginal, $10-20 per state. Basically, it's no big deal.
Wait, what?
I think that.
What do you mean?
Nathan?
Wait, it costs money. I haven't had to pay to get appointed. I mean, whenever I get like an out-of-state license, I've had to do that. But
yeah, I think it's taken out of your future commissions, is what it is. It's a debit balance against your account, I think. For each carrier, but it's like not much. So
okay.
Well, Nathan, man, that is it. I appreciate your time. Thank you very much for being here.